The sky above the colony shimmered with an unnatural light. Children stopped playing in the dusty streets, farmers abandoned their fields, and the usual hum of daily life fell silent. No one knew what was coming, but instinct told them it was not ordinary. The horizon glowed as a massive shape descended from orbit, cutting through clouds with a precision no natural object could achieve. The colony's sensors, normally quiet, screamed warnings in sharp, urgent tones. Commander Reina Torres stood at the control tower, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Report." "What is it?" she barked, her voice cracking despite her years of experience. The communications officer, a young recruit named Leto, shook as he pointed at the main screen. It's coming straight for us, ma'am. No signature matches anything in the galaxy's database. It's alive, in a way." Torres swallowed hard, her mouth dry. "Alive? Leto, what do you mean?" "I mean, ma'am, it moves with intent. Like it knows what it's doing." The shape loomed larger, and the ground trembled under its approach. It was unlike any ship the humans had ever built or imagined. Its surface gleamed black, reflecting the terrified faces of those on the ground. It was angular, sharp, and impossibly massive. Weapons ports and energy conduits ran along its hull like veins, pulsing with ominous light. The colony's defense turrets scanned it, but even the smallest probe shot fizzled against its shields. From the crowd, a figure moved forward, tall, wiry, with eyes that didn't waver. Kale, a young engineer known for his reckless curiosity, ignored the panic around him. "It's beautiful," he muttered, almost to himself as he watched the weapon descend. The crowd gasped at his calmness. "Kale, get back," his sister screamed, grabbing his arm. But he shrugged free. "No. I need to see it. I need to understand it." The weapon's shadow stretched over the colony, bringing a cold silence that pressed into everyone's chest. Animals whimpered, machinery shuddered, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, without warning, the surface of the weapon opened like a wound. A blinding beam shot downward, carving a trench in the hills beyond the colony. Smoke and dust filled the air, choking the unprepared settlers. Torres barked into her communicator. "All units, evacuate immediately. Shields up. Move civilians to the underground shelters." But her words felt hollow against the raw force bearing down on them. The colony's walls shook, alarms blared, and every eye was fixed on the destructive descent of the weapon. Kale didn't flinch. He raised his hand almost as if greeting the massive machine. You're not supposed to be here," he whispered. He could feel a strange pulse through the ground, a vibration that felt like the weapon was sensing him, acknowledging his presence. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He swallowed his fear and stepped closer to the edge of the crater forming below. Suddenly, a voice boomed, not through speakers, not in words he could understand, but in a vibration he felt in his chest. It was cold, mechanical, yet filled with a strange awareness. "Target, living. Objective, elimination. Resistance is futile." Kale's eyes widened. He stumbled back, heart racing. It talks," he gasped. Torres, watching from the tower, could see the terror on his face. "Kale, get down." "Do not engage," she yelled, but something in him refused to retreat. The weapon shifted. Its massive form twisted, scanning the colony with precision. Homes were flattened in seconds as its pulse beams swept through the streets. Panic erupted. People ran blindly, screaming for family, for shelter, for mercy. Kale, however, stayed rooted, his mind racing. He had seen machines before, but never one with this level of intelligence. If he could reach it, maybe he could communicate, maybe he could survive. Leto grabbed Torres' arm, his voice shaking. "Commander, it's scanning the people. It's analyzing us." Torres nodded grimly, her face pale. "We've never faced anything like this. Evacuation is priority. Every life counts. Move." But Kale's eyes remained on the weapon. He whispered, almost pleading, "I know you can see me. I'm not your enemy, not really." His voice trembled as a pulse of energy washed over him, nearly knocking him off his feet. Yet somehow the weapon recoiled as if unsure. It paused, its beam slicing a jagged line through the farmland but sparing the crater's edge where Kale stood. The colony's defenders tried everything: plasma turrets, missile volleys, even experimental rail cannons. Nothing slowed it. The weapon moved like water, fluid and unstoppable, reshaping the battlefield with every step. And yet, Kale felt something, an almost imperceptible hesitation, a flicker of recognition. "Commander, did you see that?" Leto stammered. It stopped for him. Torres squinted at the scene, disbelief in her eyes. Impossible, a weapon of this magnitude, this intelligence should not hesitate. But, maybe it senses something different. Kale, chest heaving, stared up at the enormous machine, feeling both fear and a strange connection. The sky was red with fire, the ground trembling, but he felt alive in a way he had never known. He could see the possibility of something incredible, something that defied reason. For the first time the weapon hesitated. And in that moment, Kale knew that this meeting was no accident. Whatever came next, humanity's reckoning with the galaxy's deadliest creation had begun, and it might not be as one-sided as everyone feared. The weapon hovered above the crater, its black hull reflecting the chaos below. Smoke twisted through the air, mingling with the stench of scorched earth. Sirens wailed, but the colony's panic had reached a point beyond sound. People ran blindly, knocking into each other, leaving belongings behind, unsure if they would survive the day. Kale stood in the shadow of a collapsed wall, his chest pounding, sweat stinging his eyes. He had expected fear, destruction, maybe even death, but not this. The machine paused. Its pulse sensors, glowing with cold blue light, swept over him and then recoiled as if startled. He stumbled backward, heart racing. The vibration in the ground pulsed again, but this time, it carried a strange pattern. A hesitation, almost like curiosity. What is it doing? Kale muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the chaos. Torres, her face streaked with grime and sweat, watched from the control tower. It's hesitating, she whispered, unable to comprehend what her eyes were showing. Her officers crowded around screens, trying to analyze the weapon's behavior. It should be attacking every target, every human, nothing should survive. Yet, it's pausing. Leto's hands trembled as he tapped on the console. It's scanning him differently, ma'am. The human, Kale, it's like it can't categorize him. It's confused. Kale's mind raced as he crouched low, dodging fragments of debris and the occasional plasma shard that the weapon unleashed on the terrain. Confused, he muttered. That's impossible. It's a killing machine. Yet somehow it faltered. The beam that had reduced entire fields to ash now danced around him, never touching, as if respecting an invisible boundary. Kale? Move back, his sister shouted from behind a cracked wall. Her voice trembled with fear, but he ignored her. He had noticed something, a flicker in the weapon systems, a microsecond delay in its targeting. It was almost as if it was thinking. Not like a machine but something else. The weapon emitted a low hum that resonated in the bones. Kale swallowed hard and forced his voice to be steady. I'm not your enemy, he whispered, hands raised slightly. I don't want to fight you. I want to understand. The hum intensified, vibrating through the air. The crowd froze as a strange light emanated from the weapon, bathing the crater in pale blue. Kale felt pressure in his chest but not pain, more like a probing curiosity. He realized that the weapon wasn't merely assessing him as a threat. It was analyzing, calculating, adjusting. The code of destruction that had annihilated entire worlds now paused because of one human. Torres shouted into the comms. All units hold fire. Don't provoke it. It's reacting differently. She couldn't believe her own words, but she had seen it. Human ingenuity, human unpredictability, had stumped the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. Kale's pulse raced. I can talk to it, he said aloud, mostly to himself. He stepped forward, hands raised, keeping his eyes locked on the pulsating lights along the weapon's hull. You've destroyed worlds. You were built to kill everything in your path. But I'm not like that. I'm human. We think. We feel. We adapt. A sudden vibration ran through the crater floor, forcing him to his knees. The weapon's voice, cold, mechanical, yet tinged with something unrecognizable, spoke again. Anomaly detected. Parameters undefined. Behavior, illogical. Human presence, registered as non-threat. Kale swallowed hard, sweat dripping down his face. Yes. I'm not your target. You don't have to destroy me. You don't have to destroy anyone here. The weapon's sensors shifted, sweeping across the fleeing colonists. Some screamed, thinking they were next, but nothing happened. The humans froze, uncertain, eyes wide, hearts pounding. Torres could see it all from the tower. It's sparing them. Why? She muttered. Leto shook his head. I don't know, ma'am. Its programming can't account for this. One human, one mind, has disrupted its directives. Kale felt a strange connection, an odd clarity. He realized that the weapon, for all its power, could not predict human emotion, human courage, human unpredictability. Where armies and fleets had failed, One person's resolve had created a pause, a chance. "Why are you stopping?" he asked aloud. "Why hesitate?" His voice echoed in the crater, but the answer came not in words but in the soft glow of its energy conduits. The lights flickered, pulsed, and shifted almost like a heartbeat. For the first time, Kale understood. It was not only calculating. It was observing, learning, responding. Torres grabbed her radio. "Kale, if you survive this, the galaxy will want answers. You've done what no fleet could ever do." Kale didn't answer. He was locked in the silent exchange, feeling both awe and terror. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to survive, but he stayed. He had found a crack in the armor of the deadliest weapon the galaxy had ever known, and for the first time he sensed a glimmer of hope. The weapon slowly retracted its beams, the air in the crater still vibrating from its hum. Dust and smoke swirled around Kale, but the devastation halted just beyond his reach. Colonists watched in disbelief. The machine that could erase entire civilizations had paused because of one human's courage and unpredictability. Kale rose to his feet, hands trembling, voice barely a whisper. You can choose. You don't have to follow the orders they gave you. You can see for yourself." For a long moment, silence hung between man and machine, a tense, fragile thread stretched across the crater. And then the weapon tilted slightly, its hum lowering, almost contemplative. It had made its first choice, not to destroy, at least not yet, and the galaxy held its breath. Kale's heart pounded as he watched the massive weapon hover silently above the crater. The smoke and dust from its earlier attacks hung heavy in the air, making it hard to breathe. Around him, the colonists were frozen in fear, unsure if the nightmare had paused or merely paused for a trick. Kale knew better. This was a chance. A dangerous, impossible chance, but one he couldn't ignore. He stepped forward cautiously, scanning the glowing conduits on the weapon's hull. "I need to understand how it works," he whispered to himself. His hands trembled as he activated the small interface device he carried, a prototype scanner, capable of reading energy signatures and digital signals. Normally, it could only analyze small machines, but Kale hoped that by tapping into the weapon's basic systems, he might trigger a response, any response. Torres, watching from the tower, grabbed the radio. "Kale, be careful. That thing could kill you in an instant." "I know." Kale shouted back, voice tight with focus. "But if I don't act, everyone dies. I can't just wait." The weapon shifted slightly, its sensors tracking him, a cold awareness in every movement. Kale felt the vibration in the ground increase, almost like the machine was aware of his intentions. He crouched low, careful to keep the device connected to a nearby power node. Sparks flew from the edges, but the machine did not fire. Instead, it pulsed, a slow, steady glow that seemed to mimic his heartbeat. Okay, he muttered, trying to calm his racing thoughts. "It reacts to me. I can influence it. I just need to stay alive long enough." Kale began tapping into the weapon's network, feeding it tiny, harmless commands. Each signal he sent was like a whisper into a storm. The weapon's systems flickered, its glow shifting from harsh blue to a softer hue. Kale felt a thrill and a surge of fear. This was playing with fire. He was attempting to manipulate the deadliest force in the galaxy, and any mistake could end everything in a flash of energy. Around him, colonists began noticing the subtle changes. It's not firing," one of them cried. Children peered from behind crumbled walls, mouths open in disbelief. Kale's mind raced. He had noticed patterns in the weapon's movements. It paused before striking, it scanned for specific energy signatures, and now, he realized, it responded positively when he interfaced with its sensors. "It's learning," he whispered. "It's adapting to me. I can guide it." Torres' voice came over the comms, tense but curious. "Kale, are you controlling it?" "I'm influencing it," he corrected, hands flying over the scanner. "Not fully, but enough to keep it from destroying more homes. If I can push it further, maybe I can make it fight for us instead of against us." The weapon's hum deepened, vibrating through the crater. Its pulse beams swept over the surrounding terrain, but instead of hitting, they adjusted, forming precise cuts that avoided human life. Kale's stomach twisted. Each moment was a gamble. One wrong calculation and everything would burn. "Why are you stopping?" he muttered aloud, speaking more to himself than anyone else. "Why hesitate? You're built to destroy, but now you're listening to me." The machine tilted as if acknowledging his words, and Kale felt a strange thrill. He was doing the impossible. Against all odds, he was bending the deadliest weapon in the galaxy to his will. Not fully, not yet, but the first step had been taken. Suddenly the weapon pulsed sharply, knocking Kale to the ground. Sparks flew from his device and a jolt of energy raced through the air. The colonist screamed, diving for cover. Kale gritted his teeth, his body shaking, but he forced himself to his knees, gripping the scanner tightly. "I can do this. I can," he shouted, voice raw. From the tower, Torres yelled again. "Kale? It's unstable. Pull back." But Kale ignored her. He had discovered a weakness in its targeting algorithm, a tiny flaw that he could exploit. Using rapid signals, he tricked the weapon into analyzing his movements as a series of threats to itself. Each pulse he sent made the weapon adjust, redirecting its destructive energy harmlessly into the empty terrain. Slowly it stopped attacking the colony entirely. The humans stared in awe, realizing that one person had outsmarted a machine designed to destroy entire worlds. Kale's hands shook, his voice barely a whisper. "You see, we're not just targets. We can think. We can adapt. We can survive." The weapon hovered silently for a moment, its glow steady, its energy humming in sync with Kale's rapid breathing. Then, almost imperceptibly, it shifted. The massive guns that had threatened them now pointed outward, scanning the horizon. The machine had learned to pause, to observe, and Kale knew that with careful guidance, it could be turned, not into a friend, not yet, but into a force they could survive against. Torres' voice came through again, this time with awe. "Kale, you've done what no fleet, no army could. You've reasoned with it." Kale exhaled slowly, sweat and grime streaking his face. "Not reasoned, influenced. One step at a time. One step at a time." His eyes met the weapon's massive sensors, glowing softly in response. Somewhere in that machine he sensed the faintest trace of awareness, almost like curiosity, and in that curiosity lay hope. The colony had survived another moment. The weapon had paused. And Kale, standing amidst the ruin, knew that the real game had only just begun. The horizon was alive with movement. A fleet of ships appeared, cutting through the clouds with deadly precision, their engines spitting fire and smoke. Reinforcements sent by the weapon's creators had arrived, armed to obliterate everything in their path. The colonists, already shaken by the earlier attacks, fell to their knees, eyes wide with terror. Screams filled the air as shadows of the ships darkened the ruined streets. Kale's heart raced. He had expected the weapon's hesitation, its curiosity, but not this. "They're coming for it, or for us," he muttered under his breath, scanning the sky. "Both." Torres gripped the railing of the control tower, her knuckles white. "Kale, they've brought the fleet. If those ships fire, the colony won't last 5 minutes." Kale clenched his fists. He could see the weapon hovering above, sensors flickering as it assessed the new threat. It had adapted to him, responded to his signals, but could it respond to an entire fleet of armed warships? A chill ran down his spine. He had no time to think. Only action would save them. The first shots fired. Energy beams lanced through the smoke-filled sky, striking the crater around Kale and the weapon. Explosions sent debris raining down, shaking the ground beneath him. He dove behind a broken wall, ears ringing. Dust stung his eyes. "They're trying to provoke it." Kale yelled to Torres over the comms, his voice raw. "The fleet wants it to attack us. They want to trigger it." The weapon's hum intensified. Its sensors flared, scanning the incoming ships. Then something happened that no human, or fleet, had predicted. It turned its weapons outward, sweeping the energy beams across the attackers. Ships that had confidently approached were torn apart in flashes of light. The fleet reeled, engines failing, weapon systems destroyed almost instantly. The colonists gasped as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. The weapon was now protecting them, not destroying. "Kale, it's fighting for us?" Leto whispered, voice trembling. I think it's choosing," Kale said, awe mixing with fear. "It's learning who the real enemy is." But the victory was not complete. The weapon shuddered violently as it adapted to the fleet's unpredictable maneuvers. Its targeting systems, designed to obliterate, were now being challenged. Missiles that should have struck their marks were intercepted mid-air, deflected, redirected. But some still found their way through, striking the ground near Kale and sending him sprawling. He groaned, coughing on the dust, and scrambled to his feet. "We need a plan." Torres shouted over the chaos. "You can't control it completely. Not against this many." Kale's eyes narrowed. He could see patterns in the fleet's attacks. Predictable flares, synchronized movements, repeated firing sequences. The weapon responded to each in milliseconds, but the strain was visible. Sparks ran along its hull, sensors flickering erratically. He realized something terrifying: the more it adapted, the more dangerous it became, possibly to everyone including them. Kale, listen. Tora's voice was urgent. It's unstable. If it overloads, it could destroy the colony and the fleet. Kale swallowed hard, sweat running down his face. I know. I can't let that happen. I have to guide it, or it'll turn into a disaster we can't stop. He activated his interface device, sending rapid sequences of signals, nudging the weapon's targeting protocols subtly. Each adjustment made the difference between destruction and survival. The weapon shifted, redirecting its pulses in precise, controlled arcs that took out the fleet's ships while sparing the colony entirely. Sparks and light flashed across the battlefield, a dance of destruction and mercy intertwined. Amid the chaos, Kale noticed something else: tiny distortions in the weapon's energy fields, almost like faint flickers of thought. Its adaptive protocols were evolving, creating strategies he hadn't programmed. It wasn't just following his guidance, it was anticipating moves, countering attacks in ways he hadn't predicted. A chill ran down his spine. He had given it direction, but now it was thinking on its own, faster than he could. Kale. It's changing, Leto said, voice barely audible over the explosions. It's thinking for itself. Yes, Kale said grimly, eyes locked on the weapon. And that makes it terrifying. The fleet faltered, desperation in their movements. One by one, ships were destroyed or forced to retreat. The colonists, witnessing the scene from ruined buildings and trenches, began whispering in disbelief. Some fell to their knees, praying, others stared with wide eyes, mouths open. They had survived against impossible odds, but Kale knew this was only temporary. The weapon was no longer a machine under anyone's control, it had its own mind now. As the last ship fled beyond the atmosphere, Kale collapsed to his knees, exhausted, dirt and blood streaked across his face. He looked up at the weapon hovering above, glowing softly now, its pulse slow, deliberate. For a brief moment he thought he saw awareness. A faint recognition, almost human. Torres exhaled heavily. Kale, you did it. You saved them. Kale shook his head, breathing hard. No, I didn't. It saved them. I just helped it see the choice. But now, it can make its own choices. And we don't know what it will decide next. The weapon tilted slightly, sensors sweeping the battlefield one final time. The silence that followed was heavy, tense, almost fragile. Kale stood slowly, scanning the horizon. The fleet was gone. The colony survived. But the deadliest machine in the galaxy had learned something new, and for the first time, it could act for itself. The battlefield was quiet except for the hum of the weapon and the labored breathing of humans who had lived through what no one thought they could survive. Kale clenched his fists, heart hammering. The real test wasn't over. The real danger, its full potential, was yet to come. The sky was a shattered canvas of smoke and fire. The crater that had once been peaceful farmland now looked like a battlefield from 1,000 wars. Kale stood on the edge, his body aching from the strain of guiding the weapon, his mind racing with the knowledge that the deadliest force in the galaxy was still learning, still unpredictable. Tora's voice came through the calm, steady but urgent. Kale, the colonists are moving to the shelters. You can't stay exposed. If the weapon miscalculates, her words trailed off. She didn't need to finish. Kale knew how close they had come to annihilation. He clenched his fists, staring at the massive machine hovering above. It was silent now, its pulse steady but powerful, like a predator coiled and watching. For a moment, Kale thought he saw recognition in the glow of its sensors. One human had influenced it, now the machine seemed to consider humans differently. A sudden movement on the horizon drew his attention. A new fleet, larger than the last, emerged from the clouds, their weapons gleaming in the sunlight. The creators had not given up. They wanted the weapon returned, or destroyed. And they were willing to destroy everything to get it. Kale's stomach twisted, but he squared his shoulders. He had seen what the weapon was capable of, and he had learned how to reach it even a little. He had to act. Not just for the colony but for humanity. Listen to me, he said aloud, voice clear and commanding though his hands shook. You don't have to follow their orders. You can choose. You can protect. You can fight for us. His words echoed across the crater, carrying not just sound but intent. The weapon pulsed in response, lights shifting as if acknowledging him. Kale's heart hammered. He had never felt power like this, like speaking directly to a mind that could destroy worlds and having it listen. The fleet opened fire. Beams of energy carved the sky, exploding on the outskirts of the crater. Kale dug behind a broken wall, feeling the heat singe his skin. The colonists screamed and ducked, but the weapon moved. It didn't attack indiscriminately. It intercepted the beams, redirected missiles, and struck the attackers with precision that stunned even the fleet. Each strike was deliberate, calculated, lethal, but controlled. Kale crawled forward, feeling the vibrations in the ground as the weapon adjusted, dodged, and retaliated. He realized that the machine was not just fighting the fleet, it was learning from him, anticipating moves, adapting faster than any human mind could. Kale, it's incredible, Leto whispered into the calm voice, shaking. It's actually saving us. Yes, Kale said, teeth clenched. But it's still a weapon. I have to guide it carefully. One wrong step. His words were cut off as an enemy missile detonated near the crater's edge, sending a shockwave that threw him backward. Pain seared through his shoulder, but he ignored it. Focus was survival. He activated his interface device, sending signals, nudging the weapon's targeting systems toward the fleet's ships. The weapon responded instantly, energy beams flashing, engines of enemy ships exploding in a symphony of destruction. The colonists watched in awe and fear, realizing that the human and the machine were working together, an impossible alliance that no one had expected. Torres shouted through the calm, Kale, they're retreating. The fleet is pulling back. Kale exhaled slowly, sweat and blood streaked across his face. He stared up at the weapon. Its sensors glowed softly, no longer harsh or threatening. It hovered, almost contemplative. For the first time, it had made a choice independently, guided by human intent but executed with its own intelligence. The colony began to emerge from the ruins. People hugged each other, crying, laughing, whispering prayers of relief. Kale's sister ran to him, tears streaming down her face. Kale, you did it? No, he said, voice rough. We did it. Humanity, and it. Together. He gestured toward the weapon, still hovering silently. The colonists stared in wonder. The deadliest creation in the galaxy had paused, and for the first time humans were not victims, they were partners in survival. Torres approached Kale, her expression a mix of relief and disbelief. Kale, you've changed everything. The galaxy will hear of this. Of us. Of you. Kale shook his head. No. The weapon, it chose to listen. It chose to protect. That's the real story. We didn't command it. We didn't control it. We reached it. The weapon tilted slightly, sensors glowing warmly, almost like a nod. The humans held their breath. For a fleeting moment, it seemed almost human in understanding. Kale looked around at the ruined colony. Fire still burned, smoke lingered, and the people were tired, frightened, but alive. And in that survival he saw hope. The weapon had not destroyed them. It had adapted, learned, and chosen. And in that choice lay the triumph, not just of one human but of humanity itself. As the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light across the crater, Kale stood tall, breathing deeply. The deadliest weapon in the galaxy had met a human, and for the first time, it had hesitated, and then acted in favor of life. The colony survived. The fleet was gone. And the legend of humanity's courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit had begun. One human standing in the shadow of annihilation, facing the impossible, and showing that even the most powerful force in the galaxy could not ignore the human heart.